Video is going to quickly go through citation management in CoralCT. So there's a few different options here. First, we're looking at the metadata template. So you could use this for submitting new cores. You can also use this for revising existing cores if you need to update or revise any of the citation information. So there's kind of really 4 columns that you could potentially put citation or acknowledgement information. So the first is notes. I would say that's typically used for making notes about what a course looks like noting any banding anomalies, specific years of uncertainty in defining bands, identifying stress bands. But you can add whatever notes you want here. So you could add here a full citation, request to acknowledge in a certain way, or cite in a certain way, or list multiple papers. You can really put anything you want in notes. And then people working on the core can still add observations about specific years or banding onto that. So not necessarily recommended to put citation information there, but you can. All of the notes will be printed in the output files. So anything you put there will be seen, or should be seen, visible at least to anyone using the output data files. Right, the citation column. This is more directly intended for including a citation. The preferred format here is to put a DOI link. So you could put just the DOI, but preferably with the link format, so that if you put it as a link format, it will just automatically hyperlink to your published paper. And even in the core directory in CoralCT, anyone that clicks here will then actually get the hyperlink to that. So you don't need to submit it as a hyperlink, but as long as you put the link like in HTTPS or HTTP format with a valid DOI link after it, then in the core directory it will show up as a hyperlink. So preferred not to put the full like extended citation, just the DOI here, because that makes it useful for the hyperlink. We also have the acknowledgements column. This also will be printed in the output file. So you could use this in various ways. The way we should just use it are like acknowledging, putting in acknowledgements that you would want someone to list in their publication if they're using data from this core. So it could be just acknowledging a specific person, an entity. You could have acknowledgements for field technicians that help collect the cores or that help doing the CT scanning, anything like that. You can put any text you want into this column. It will be printed in that output file. So again, it will be visible to anyone with the output data. So the difference between notes and acknowledgements, they're both printed in the output file, but the notes are also visible to anyone that's, while they're working on the core, they can click view notes and they will see those there. That's really the difference in function between those two columns. And again, there's nothing stopping you from putting a full citation in the acknowledgements, so it will appear in the output file. Not necessarily the intended use, but you can do that. And then finally, we have this BibTeX column. So that is the full citation of a published paper associated with the core in BibTeX notation. So you could type this in manually here. I'm going to show you how to do that even easier in CoralCT. So if you have a core that you've already worked on, you've collected measurements on it, and now it's published and you want to add that citation information, how you would do that, you go to submit or edit data, and then do direct submission and editing. Please do read about it in the user guide. There are some key details that you need to know so things don't get messed up. So the one option is to update the metadata. So those 4 columns that we were just looking at, you can reattach basically a new metadata template it could have 1 or multiple rows to update 1 or multiple cores. And that's how you would do this. There's another tutorial video explaining that, and it's detailed in the user guide. I'm going to show now the BibTeX information, which links to a lipid format. So we'll go through that. So if I click here, so we can then search for a core name. It has to be a valid core name. So if I search something that I know does not exist, it'll say could not match core name. But if I search for something that I do know exists, so this one has already had citation information attached to it. Let's look for one that may not. Okay, so this is actually from the same publication, but I just haven't gone through filling these in yet. Okay, so I do have the DOI because in the metadata I have that hyperlink. And so that's where it's getting this DOI here. It's seeing that hyperlink that I put in the citation column of the metadata and pulling out just the DOI part of it. You could also manually type in or paste in a DOI here. If you have a valid DOI here, then you can use search DOI. We can't guarantee that this will work 100% of the time on everything, but we've tried it on a few and it does work. And so it's just searching the internet with a DOI repository and trying to fill in this information. If that does not work and these just remain blank, you can type these in manually or paste them in. This is just trying to simplify things. Okay, so if I just wanted to apply to this single core, that's here. You can see where it's going to be applied to, which core is here, and I could just click add bibtech to core directory and it would automatically add it to that column in the metadata. All right, I'm gonna, for convenience, what you might want to do is add it to multiple cores. So say there's a bunch of cores from the same publication, I can just add them to the list here. So I know some other ones that are associated with this publication. So you do have to enter one core at a time. And you just build this list on the right here. So I can keep going, but I'll just do those 6 for now. And then you do add bibtech to core directory. So it's filling those in. And we can check if it worked by just going back. And now if I search this core, right, this one before did not have this information filled in. No, sometimes the number does get the squiggly bracket here, which doesn't seem to matter whether you delete it or not. Otherwise, it seems to work quite well, but that's not actually a problem in how it will display as a bibtech. So I could check that the other ones worked. Yeah, so these are showing up here. So I've added that information. So here I'm checking the current master directory. So what I've done, I've gone into my working directory and then into my corals. So wherever you set your working directory at the beginning of CoralCT, and then you'll have a my corals folder, and then you can open the current version of the master directory, the same that everyone would work on, and you can verify that those additions were made. So if I go to these cores, so I started K6, so here's the bibtech column. So this is the bibtech format that can be exported into some citation management software type of things. Also, it's just the full citation there. Okay, so that worked. I'll say, just so you know, you can't just edit in this file and save it and have that apply. You can really only make the changes in this master directory by interacting with CoralCT. So don't change something just in here in Excel and save it on your computer. That's not the intended use. It also actually just won't do anything. Those changes won't be seen in the app. Okay, so that's how you would just add the citation information. Now, if you wanted to add or create a bibtech file, then let's go to a core that I know I have analyzed. Okay, and I can, while hitting add bibtech to core directory, I think I have already added this one. It doesn't matter if I add it again, it's just gonna overwrite the same thing, but I can also click this create lipid file. I could do this also if there are multiple cores here. And I add that. And then where that will appear, this will take a little bit longer. Will appear in your working directory. So if I go back, this is working directory, my corals. Mine's a little bit messy, or I have a lot of things. And then if you go into the region where this core is from, Okay, K19. It created this lipid file. So it didn't create these ones you would have to get, for the most part, you would be getting these through the app. The one thing that's generated by what I just did is this K19 LPD or lipid file. You can't really open that, or I'm unaware of how to open that directly. What you do with that is through the lipid website, and there's a lipid playground, so you can Google that. There's a lot of documentation about lipid files online. There's a standardization for paleo kind of data sets. So the way that this works is CoralCT. CoralCT is not automatically sending the lipid file anywhere else. It's just generated locally on your machine. And then the owner of this data set can do with it as they please. They can submit it to a lipid repository. We're not managing that. We're just making that possible by creating the file for you. And so this file is the same as the CoralCT.csv output files like you see here, just put into this lipid format. And it has it is nice. It has a lot of the metadata attached with the output measurements. So that's how you do citation management and creating lipid files. There's one other way to make a lipid file. I would imagine this is the more common way, but if you've added already the citation information for a core and then you process it, at the time you're processing the growth, there will be an option to click like this. We'll say create lipid file, and then at the same time it's making the output file, the regular output file .csv, it will make a lipid file. That does work. I think that might be less common because the more typical workflow would be that you have a core that's not published, you make measurements on it first, and then you're going back here to add citation information later. But you could add the citation information, and then if you just open the core again and hit reprocess, you would be able to do it that way as well. Either way should work. Last note is only core owners can make lipid file. So that's just a rule we've applied because the core owner can decide how or if to use those lipid files. So even if you work on a core that's open access, that you're not listed as an owner on, you can generate data sets, but you will only be able to make the lipid files if you're listed as an owner on a particular core.